All right, in this video, we're finally ready to execute some lines of code. Aren't you excited? All right, I know I definitely am. That was a lot of setup, a lot of build-up for this, but we're going to show you two ways to run your code, and then we're just going to show you the code runner is going to be the one that we're going to be utilizing for a majority of the video lessons that you'll see in this course. All right, so let's go ahead, dive into our Visual Studio Code. Again, still working with the same file folder setup, and we're going to print on the terminal our very first statement, hello world, print, and then we're going to utilize left and right parentheses, and then we're going to do the hello world. Now, in Visual Studio Code, you're going to notice that we have this little white dot on there. And that means that, on my screen anyway, that it's not completely saved quite yet. And in order to have new things show up in the terminal or in your code runner, you're definitely going to want to make sure that you save it. We did add that extra saving step in our code runner where it will save the document for us. But we're going to be doing a terminal one, and we do want to make sure that it is saved. And anyways, you may not have a white dot on yours because your auto save is set up to on delay. Okay, with that being said, the quickest way to do it in the terminal, Visual Studio Code has its own very own terminal, meaning that it's built in. And we don't really have to do a whole lot of terminal navigating in order to get to the file. But typically, if you're going to be utilizing the terminal in order to execute your code, you want to navigate to the folder that is inside that carries your actual file. So if I right click this, again, Visual Studio Code helps us out a lot. We have this little menu option here called Open Integrated Terminal. Once we have that set up, we can go ahead and click on it, and notice that a little terminal box down here is lined up. We are in our Python folder. We can type ls in here, and we can see the files that are in there. And our hello-world.py file should be displayed. Windows users, you may have to type dir, but typically ls seems to work. Now, how do we execute this and see it in the terminal? Mac users will have to type out the word Python with a 3 all smashed together. Windows users, you can just type the word Python, okay? Now, we're telling our computer, hey, I want you to utilize Python in order to execute a file. Well, it doesn't know what file name you have created or that you want to use. And we're going to hit the space bar, and let's just go ahead and start typing out the very first 3 letters of the file, which is HEL. And then in Visual Studio Code terminal here, you can hit the tab button, and that's right on the left hand side underneath the 1 key. And we hit the tab, and notice that it auto completed, it filled in the rest of that file for us. So you do want to fully type it out, or you can use that shorthand of hitting the tab and it should find it. Okay, once you do that, you can hit the enter key and you should see hello world being displayed. All right, perfect. Okay, now, like I said, if you want to make changes to this, you definitely can, and you can see it down there. Again, so I can get rid of the exclamation mark, for example. Save it. Notice that my white dot is now gone. And in the terminal, I could hit the up arrow because it will allow us to go through some of the previous commands that we've used before. And we can hit the enter key, and you can see that the exclamation mark is gone. It's no longer down here. Okay, so that's very tedious, a lot of work to just go ahead and do that in the terminal. Now instead, we're going to utilize Code Runner. We should now see a play button up here. I'm going to go ahead and hit the play button, and then notice that up here on my right, and yours typically will be displayed down below. For all my videos, I make sure that they're over here to the right because sometimes I need to zoom in, and I found it more convenient to have my Code Runner display up here. Okay, so anytime we make changes over here, because we set up our Code Runner the way that we did, we set it up so when we hit the play button, it automatically saves the file. It doesn't show us any extra code above or below that it was running and then it ended, because we really don't need that at this point in our learning. Okay, so that is going to be the way that we are going to be showing you how to execute your code. A majority of these lessons, until we get to the input and output section, we can use Code Runner, but whenever we're asking for a user response, we will have to resort to the terminal. Okay, now follow along in these next video lessons. We're going to have a different folder set up. You are going to be in the Python folder, but many times if we're teaching you a lesson, you will have a lessons folder, and then for any kind of challenges, you will have a challenges folder respectively. Okay, so just pay attention to the folder structure and you should be good to go. If you are experiencing any types of errors or anything like that while trying to run this simple code that we see right here, feel free to reach out to us. We'll help you out for sure, making sure that you get started off error-free, at least for something that is very simple for us to type out and write out. Okay, we'll see you in the next video, and hopefully you're all set up.